Starbucks has an armed forces network of veterans, and they had invited Sergeant Petrie, the Medal of Honor recipient, to give a talk.
The next thing we know is we hear a blast. It knocks the two younger Rangers to the ground next to me, and sitting there was an enemy grenade that had come over the building. Grabbed the grenade, attempted to throw it away from my guys, and as I released it, opened my hand, the grenade exploded.
And I looked around the room that afternoon, and without exaggeration, I think the entire room was completely emotionally struck with what they had just heard and what they saw in this very unique, heroic figure who stood in front of 4,000 Starbucks people and said, "I'm no hero. I was just doing my job." When you are exposed to something so important, it's very difficult to be a bystander. And I think for me personally, I just could not walk away from what I had seen. And that took me to Walter Reed Hospital. That took me to Fort Benning, to the Joint Base here, Lewis McChord.
This is my Sergeant Major Vincent. How are you?
The problem is, never before in America's history has there been a war like this. We have an all-volunteer service that represents less than 5% of the population of the country in terms of a direct or indirect relationship with someone who is serving. So as a result of that, the young men and women who are returning are not only not returning to a parade, they're returning to a society that has not been engaged with what they have been doing. So the question is, how can we create awareness? And we came up with a very simple idea. Let's write a very unique book with Rajiv Chandrasekaran, a world-renowned war correspondent at the Washington Post, that would tell 10 stories. The name of the book is For Love of Country. 5 beautifully written stories that highlight 5 warriors in theater, and then 5 stories of heroic people who have come home and done very, very unique things that demonstrate their value to our society.
What's different about this book is it shows our veterans not as people who need to be pitied, but as people who have remarkable skills and a remarkable commitment to our nation. They're stepping in the wake of natural disasters to help people rebuild. They're leaving their jobs in the military and going to help in inner city America to serve as teachers and school principals.
When you sit with these people and you realize what they have been through, when you sit with someone who's had 7 deployments, who spends 2/3 of the year away from his family, or when you sit with this 9-year-old boy, Max, who has lost his father, when he's asked by his mother, "What would you like to put on your father's tombstone, who was killed in Afghanistan?" And he says, "Soldier of kindness." I think if the American public was in my office and they heard this story and met Max, the one thing that they would all say in unison is, "How can we help?" And there are hundreds of stories like this that need to be told. And that's why we're writing the book.